Good morning. My name is Lauren Calloway, and I am the owner of the Mindful Business Life podcast and RW Business Solutions, a digital marketing firm. Um, every week, Lindsay and I hop on and give you your weekly dose of motivation, love, and support. We use the book Journey to the Heart. It's a daily meditation. It's daily meditations on the path to freeing your soul. By Melody. Did we figure Beattie? Is that how we?
Beattie? I always say Beattie.
And she's the author of Codependent No More. And so a lot of people know her for that book, but I ran into this book while teaching yoga and have just always kind of clung to it. It's a really great, gentle reminder. And whenever I pick it up, it always ends up being exactly what I need to hear. So each week we just read from that day. Today's a little bit more exciting, I would say, just because it is an energy portal day with the 222. And twos generally also represent like relationships and partnerships. So very interesting day for many of us. So Lindsay, you want to go ahead and tell them a little bit about yourself, and then we'll let you read the excerpt.
Yes. Good morning. Happy 22222. My name is Lindsay Warwick of Lindsay Warwick Yoga and Healing. I'm a 500 plus hour yoga instructor, as well as a Reiki master and energy worker, energy healer. I am just super excited to be here this morning with Lauren discussing Journey to the Heart. I also have a spiritual interview series podcast, The Conduit, so you can find me on Spotify and YouTube as well. All right, so today's Journey to the Heart, February 2nd. Cherish today's lessons. I'm brokenhearted about my divorce, the man said. I've spent 4 years searching for a new wife, trying to recreate my family, trying to jam the pieces of the picture back in place. All I've gotten from my desperate search is more pain and anguish. It's hurt other people. It's hurt me. I'm tired of trying to manipulate other people to meet my own needs, to postpone my own grief. Some of us may be desperately trying to recreate the life we once had, but fear, pain, and desperation won't attract the answer we're seeking. Desperation attracts desperation. Pain attracts pain. And so the downward spiral goes. Yes, loss hurts. Sometimes life hurts too, but loss can't be negotiated. Becoming obsessed with putting the pieces back in place is an understandable reaction, but it won't work. Yesterday cannot be superimposed on today. We need to go one step further. Feel the obsession and then let it go. Feel the desperation, then release that. Come back to the lessons of today. They're different from the lessons of yesterday, but just as valuable. We face many losses along the way. People we love disappear from our lives. We may lose a career, money, or something else we valued. We can lose our dreams too. But looking for quick replacements as a way to avoid feeling pain about the loss won't work. And we'll miss the lessons. Before we can go on, we must feel our sadness about what we lost. Losses demand acceptance. Eventually, life will send you new people and new dreams. Cherish this time to grow and learn. Cherish what the universe is teaching you now. Whoa. Okay.
That's all I have to say.
What?
So for sure was hitting on a few of those Lauren points for me today too. So
oh boy, yes, I'm definitely feeling it today. I never pre-read this before we record, which I think it's beautiful. Like I try to keep it as raw as possible.
Same.
And right before we hit record, it's like I took a look at the first line and I was like, oh my gosh. I literally was just talking to a dear friend of mine. Yes, it's 6:00 in the morning, but like shit, we talk to each other like early in the morning sometimes. And we were literally just talking about the portal day and moving into a new chapter. Specifically, I know I'm moving into a new chapter in my life, and it's been a hard, painful process, sort of like what I imagine a caterpillar goes through, maybe for metamorphosis. And it's just so interesting. It's, you know, in the beginning of this reading today, this person is talking about like being upset and kind of in a complaining type of mindset that, oh, I was searching for this new person and all I've gotten is pain and anguish and hurt and etc. But I feel that there are never really any coincidences, or yeah, there are no coincidences in this lifetime, and everything is set up for us. And I know you and I have talked about this before, Lauren, where things are happening for us. And so, of course, feeling all the feelings is important, right? It's good to not have toxic positivity, like to not stuff it down, but to also try to see within those painful moments, the pain and anguish, the actual lessons that are happening, you know, because everything is set up based on our soul's contract, our soul contracts and everything like that. So also want to share that I listened to this amazing transmission the other day by Matt Kahn. And this is somebody who just came into my realm, right? And I hear that he's been around for a while, spiritual guy. And he talked about soul contracts and relationships. And it just was so enlightening. Like we choose these soul contracts before we come to earth, right? And it was very interesting. And, you know, we come into those unions to learn, but once there is abuse or once there is disrespect, the contract is null and void. And so we don't have to make excuses to stay in those types of relationships anymore. And so I don't know, it just is all in alignment like usual.
Like usual.
It's reading today, just like usual, you know?
Yeah. So for me, like, you know, eventually life will send you new people and new dreams. And I, you know, recently just moved to Charlotte. So I gave up my whole entire life that I built in Myrtle Beach these last 7 years. And I moved out here alone. And I've definitely had some really rough moments where I just miss my friends. I miss the beach. I miss, you know, some of the opportunities I had there. And the hardest thing has been like my friends. And part of it's because like I don't feel as close to a lot of my friends anymore. And because they're not here, I can't hang out with my friends anymore. And so it's been one of those places where, you know, you're trying to get out and you're trying to meet people, and it's, you know, that new friend stage. So, you know, some people are kind of flaky and some people aren't. And some people, you know, really genuinely want to hang out and some people don't. And so I find that I'm really starting to get comfortable with having nothing again in my life. I've had to be like that too many times over, and I thought I was like kind of done with that, but I definitely see that sometimes everything gets taken away from you, not to hurt you, but to make you stronger for what's to come. And I see that because I have struggled, you know, with wanting to be like, have friends out here, and I'm slowly making acquaintances and stuff. But I'm also seeing that I kind of need to have nothing so I can focus on what I'm building. And so it's really, I'm definitely feeling that whole, like, eventually life will send you new people. And I've got a few girlfriends now that, you know, I can call up and I'm like, okay, coffee date. And they're like, yes. And then, you know, I sent out like a mass text about going to this bonsai tree planting thing on Friday at Plant House. And I have a few people coming. And so just the reminder that, you know, it will come. in its divine timing, when it's meant to be, when you're ready for it, when you've done the work, or, as you're meant to level up, it will all come. So definitely a big lesson for me, for that too. And I think another thing was like, I'm always looking for clarity. And I was watching this movie last night, and I had been praying on it. I'm like, I need more clarity in my life. I need more clarity in my life. And last night watching this movie, it was like, it literally said clarity sometimes comes when you wait. And I was like, oh, this is why I watched this movie. But with today, like going with today's lesson, it's like, just be patient. Stop wanting what you had, and stop wanting what you think you should have, and just be present and engaged with today. And in the future, that clarity will come for you. So that was, even this morning, I was like getting in the shower, and I was just like, what did that movie tell you about clarity last night? And I got my answer and stuff. So trying to remember just to cherish what I do have, cherish the fact that I'm enjoying this quality time by myself. I have a whole house to myself. I have peace to myself. My life is very go, go, go. And so cherish, I need to be more grateful again, about just having silence, having places to pause that are safe and secure. And so, I definitely really love that today. Yeah, I can't try to recreate the life that I had in Myrtle. Something different is going to be here in Charlotte, and I'm seeing that. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think that sometimes we can get stuck in the mindset of, this says like becoming obsessed with putting it back together, or like recreating it. Because, we think, oh, I'll never find that type of person again. I'll never find that type of connection again. I'll never find that type of business setup that I had, like, for example, you living in Myrtle Beach, and realizing that, no, you won't, but you're going to attract into your life at whatever level you're at. I literally just talked to my friend about this before we started recording, which is amazing. So it's like, this is talking right here, law of attraction, desperation attracts desperation, pain attracts pain. And so it continues to go. But you could take these experiences, and I wrote an article years ago, and I called it Pain is the Alchemy of the Human Spirit. And it's so true, but it's your free will to choose that. So it's like, you can choose to take the pain and turn it into something different and level yourself up to then attract completely different circumstances into your life. Or you can stay in the pain and continue to attract those continual experiences. It'll be different meat sacks that show up, different people, same type of lessons, until you're finally ready to release that lesson and then elevate to the next level. So it's, I love that this is having aspects of the law of attraction. And like, another part of the law of attraction to me is that you can't really think I guess you can. The law of attraction says that thoughts are things, but I also believe in like the inner frequency work and the vibration work. It's like, you can think as positive as you want, but if you're not aligning your inner being and your vibration with what you really want, then you're going to just keep attracting like what's happening inside. That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. But,
okay. Yeah.
But the thing is, you have to be willing to give it time. You have to give it time to
absolutely.
No, there's no such thing as, okay, I've decided and it is. Sometimes it's I've decided and it will be, give it time. And so, but it takes the moment of going, I need better, I deserve better, or I want something different, and kind of having that conscious decision or subconscious, consciously deciding and allowing the subconscious to start picking up on that conscious decision. And so it's that work of, sitting with it, imagining, speaking it, writing it down, doing the energetic work, doing the physical work to move it. There's a lot of layers, but 100% agree with everything you just said on that, you know. And the thing is, like with the law of attraction, it's real. I mean, we see it. I know when I think about things and they pop up, there's a reason, you know, it's not just magic, you know, it's meant for me. And so I think ultimately it's a little bit of law of attraction, but also like destiny and fate. And so you almost have like, you know, multiple avenues you can go down that are already like preset and predestined for you. And so it's like up to you to like get it together and learn the lessons and move through it. Otherwise, like you said, I talked to Jenny Miller about this a lot, you know, the spiral, you know, and how we're spiraling, we're walking up a staircase all the time. And then we hit a plateau, and then that's a new level and a new lesson. And then we get stuck on that plateau sometimes until we learn the lesson. And then we move back up the spiral steps until we hit our next plateau and our next lesson. And so just willing to like evolve, you have to be willing to evolve and be teachable and not stubborn and learn your lessons. So that way you can let go of like the repetitious state, because that's where so many of us get caught, is like you said, same meat sack, just really the same person, maybe a
just
little
different, same energy, different meat sack.
Right.
It's just like, it's like a movie scene if you think about it. Take two. Like, we're just gonna keep doing this until you're ready to be done with it. And like, and even though sometimes, like, you know, things are supposed to end, it's still sad. Like, it still like brings all these emotions up, even if it's like for the best, for everybody's highest good. It's still sad because it's different. And in a way, I think this line right here is really powerful. Loss can't be negotiated. I think that's really like powerful. And then yesterday cannot be superimposed on today. We need to go one step further. And that is that's going to bring in that whole concept of free will, which Matt Kahn talks about free will and being sovereign beings a lot. And you have the choice to take us to change, to shift, to use these experiences and turn them into soul gold, essentially. And then, of course, this talks about feel it and then let it go, feel it and then release it. And I love that, because there's a lot of toxic positivity culture, like, oh, like, just be happy, just be positive, and like, oh, act as if, and like, yes, there's a time and a place for that, but I'm a big proponent. I'm a big proponent of feeling your feelings, but then also releasing. And then this brings to this idea of cherish today's lessons. Once you can release the past, you're living in the present moment, which is really all we have, right?
Yeah.
Nothing that happened before is real right now, and nothing that's coming is real right now. What's real right now? Like, sometimes when I'm in, like sometimes when I'm in really deep feelings, I'm like, I do like the 5 senses check in. I'm like, okay, I can touch something, I smell something, I see something, I hear, like, it's dropping right into the present moment, like just feeling your feet on the ground and like being in today.
Yeah, I definitely know. And we've talked about this, like, just feelings sucks most of the time, right? Especially when they're not happy. You know, let's be honest, they suck. Nobody wants to feel bad. Nobody wants to feel bad. But when you're like, big lesson for me this year is I finally was willing to like open up my heart completely. And I haven't done that in a really long time. A couple years ago, I like opened my heart up to collaboration and working with other women a lot more, and just like being more embedded in my community. So I really opened my heart up to that. And then this year I was like, I'm really gonna open myself up. I met someone that had helped me open myself up, and realizing how long I had spent trying to avoid emotions. And I'm like a lot of people, I can handle things that most people don't handle. Most people, they turn their emotions off and they get really destructive. But me, I never got destructive. I never became like really harming towards people or myself. It just was like, okay, I acknowledge that I feel like this, but I'm not going into the feeling of it. And so I've always been able to acknowledge where I'm at, but not dive too deep. And this year I spent a lot of time, especially after doing ayahuasca. That was my whole goal. My ayahuasca trip was to kind of open my heart up, and I really have. I've allowed myself to feel in ways I haven't felt in a long time, and I'm just like, just get into it and let it go, And I realized that I felt so much better when I experienced these feelings. I mean, I felt good when I was cutting them off, but I felt a lot better once I like cried, had it out, and then came back to. And so definitely never hide from your emotions. Don't be scared to feel. If you feel like you got to go punch something, go to the gym. Don't feel like, you have to just sit and cry. Like, movement is medicine. And so when you're going through things or feeling things that are uncomfortable, move the body, move the mind, do something to help stimulate your mind, body, and spirit and your heart. And so I definitely encourage you to feel into the uncomfortable situations. I was turned into like a robot. That's kind of like where I was going. Like people would like, I had no empathy, or I did for some things, but not for everything. And so this year was really cool, kind of breaking out of that. I feel into a lot more now. My gifts have always been picking up. Every year they pick up, I get stronger with sight or senses and stuff, but definitely been fun to play with this year as I've opened my heart up, or last year, excuse me, since I opened my heart up even more. It's
so
2022.
I know, literally, like, I forgot it was 2022. Like,
I put 21 on everything still.
I was like, oh, it's 2022. Like, I moved to Myrtle Beach almost 2 years ago now. It's wild to think about that.
Yeah, I moved 7 years. I moved at my 7 years in Myrtle. Like, literally moved 2 days, like a week after I moved to Myrtle. I moved to Charlotte, technically. Like, it's crazy.
I need to come visit you. I'm going to.
You should. I started I was about to get off topic real quick, but I've started bumping into Myrtle Beach people at bars here that I know, and I'm just like, okay.
That's so funny.
I love it.
But yeah, I love that you share so openly about your journey with like opening your heart. It's really beautiful. So for me, I was on the opposite end of the spectrum. I think I was more like feeling so much of everything and sharing so much of myself, wearing my heart on my sleeve. And last year for me was about unconditional love, learning that in a very challenging manner. Of course, typical Lindsay's lifestyle, like, let's do it the hardest way possible and the most painful. But now for me, it's about feeling my feelings and then having boundaries. So boundaries with other people, boundaries with myself. And so it's been more manageable for me in that way. So it's interesting, but I'm definitely an empath, and I feel everything, and I can see everyone's highest good, and I get in trouble for that sometimes. So having the boundaries and listening to the inner voice, even if it's like, well, that kind of sucks. It's like knowing when you need to get out of a certain space or situation and just having acceptance in that moment. But, this is talking also about, okay, we're going to lose these things, but looking for the quick replacement to avoid the pain won't work. So to me, that's like escapism in any fashion. So that's like, drinking a lot or whatever you do to cover up your pain, or jumping from relationship to relationship instead of actually like sitting and being present with yourself. Like you did say, like sit with it, like sit with yourself. because it is important. Because if we don't, then we're not integrating anything that our soul was trying to learn from that lesson. We'll miss the lesson. And this says, before we can go on, we must feel the sadness about what we lost. Losses demand acceptance. There it is right there. And I think for me, that's the hardest thing with loss is like, finding that acceptance. It definitely takes me prayer and meditation to find that level of acceptance. But then once I do find the acceptance, it's like peace comes. Like acceptance brings peace, even if it sucks. Like, even if you're like, well, that really sucks. Once you have full acceptance of it, then you can move forward. Like, I feel like acceptance and forgiveness are like the most, and unconditional love are the most magical things. Also compassion. So like the other night, my best friend in New Jersey, she learned this new healing technique, and it's called the prayerful intention. And it was so beautiful. And I prayed for a couple things and I've felt them come through. But the biggest thing that's come through for me since that was this level of compassion that's just come over me. And it's compassion with boundaries. It's compassion like that anger has transformed into compassion, but I'm still gonna hold the boundary, hold the line for myself. So compassion and acceptance definitely make things more manageable, at least make my situations and feelings more manageable.
And I think it's important to remember that, just because we forgive doesn't necessarily mean we forget, doesn't necessarily mean like the pain just goes away, right that second. It's still going to be like a little bit of a timely process of letting yourself heal. And so again, just feel into it and just keep forgiving. I've been through a lot of crazy things in my life, and a lot of people, when they hear some of my stories, they're like, bro, they're like, how do you like forgive? How are you so normal? Or how are you, like, and I'm like, the past is the past. I don't even think about these things anymore. They're not even a thought. No matter what I've been through. At 15, I almost died. I was almost strangled to death by my father. Tried to do it again when I was 18. It's like, that's like one of the biggest things for me. I was homeless a few times, like right after I graduated high school. So like a lot of people, they're like, how do you just like forgive your family for doing like these crazy things? And it's like, who cares? It happened. It came, it went. I'm still alive. I'm still alive. And so it's like, what's the point of sulking in the past, when present in the future? And so I think for me, like, a lot of people still think about the past. And
that's what keeps them in their cycles of pain.
Right. And me, I don't think about the past unless like I need to like bring it up for like things like this, or someone's going through something. I'm giving a perspective piece as a life coach. But ultimately, I don't think about my past. I barely think about my childhood. I barely think about my teens. I barely think about what happened last week. Luckily, I write my whole life down in my daily to-dos because I'm so busy. Otherwise, I wouldn't know who Lauren was last week. So I'm very conscious and very present every day. Of course, there are always things that pop up that might pull me back, but ultimately, I'm never one of those type of people that like really think about my past or my history. And so really learning to just kind of forget that shit, because it doesn't matter anymore. The only thing it matters is that you learned a lesson from it. And that's, like you said, Lindsay, like having compassion, learning to have compassion for yourself and for others, learning to forgive yourself and forgive others, but fucking forget about it. Cause like it's not serving you in the present. It really isn't, if you're always remembering the past. I think another one that really popped out for me was, I'm tired of trying to manipulate other people to meet my own needs, to postpone my own grief. I guess maybe not to postpone your own grief, but trying to manipulate people to meet my own needs. With my current relationship that I have, this is kind of one of the most oddly respectful relationships I've ever had, where we're both really honest about where we are mentally, emotionally. And sometimes that means we're like on a break from each other. And then we come back and, you know, most people would be like, oh, they're doing something I don't like or I'm not comfortable with, so I'm just gonna like let them go. But what I'm seeing is that I'm learning to respect people 100% where they're at. I'm respecting my partner where he's at. And if it's, oh, I need a break because I'm not healthy right now, then I give him that break, and I try not to be overbearing. And so I'm not trying to impose my needs on him when he's not in a good place. And I think it's important for us to remember that even though we may want something, it's not always up for other people to give us what we want. And sometimes it's up to us to give us what we want and need. And so if I feel like I need more attention, but he's, in a place where he needs to take a step back, then I need to be who gives me more attention, right? I need to be that fill. And so I think big lesson for me is really respecting like the partnerships and where we're at, and leaving the expectations or the wants and needs sometimes at the door. Like I said, my partner and I, like, we're very close, and when we're both in a good, healthy mindset, we're very much what we need. But if one of us is off, we also take a moment to respect that and like give each other the space that we need. And that's a concept that a lot of relationships don't have these days. And I think it's a valuable one to keep in mind is, respecting people and making sure that we're not reliant on other people to always satisfy the needs. And we're not manipulating people into being what we want if they're not meant for us as well. And so that was a really good one for me.
I think that's great. And I mean, I believe that it all starts with you and your relationship with yourself. So like, you can't really expect somebody else to fulfill any of your needs. Like, you have to fulfill your own needs. And then that person, to me, what I've learned so far, I'm 34 now, is that that person is supposed to complement your life. But I learned a lot in my last relationship as well, about who I am as a person and what I need. And like, yeah, I think that what you described sounds really healthy. Like, knowing where your partner is at and where they're coming from. And like, if they're in a painful place, or if they're in an angry space, or if they have emotions, just letting them have their feelings and not trying to take out of them, like allowing them to just have their own experience. Also, I learned the value of space and how much I need that as a being. Like, I need my own personal space to thrive and be happy. And yeah, there's a lot that I learned. There's always so much to learn. There are lessons everywhere. I see them in everything.
Yeah, I really
But
did.
I think,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the respect part that you talked about is so important.
Well, it's
And that's not just that's all relationships too.
Yeah. Well, and it's learning to compromise. What are you willing to compromise on? What, it's not even necessarily like you're putting your needs aside. It's like, are you being greedy? Are you being needy? Are you not being fed because, you're feeling, because your feelings, is it really that you're not being fed wholeheartedly, or is it just like you're being a little extra right now? Right. And so, compromise is a big word these days that I'm really getting comfortable with. Like, what can I sometimes let loose of a little bit more, so that way the people around me can live happily, but also have me still in their lives, if that makes sense. It's like I was just saying, like, ultimately, like, my partner and I, like, we have these moments where we have to take breaks, and it's not because either one of us has done anything wrong. It's just the fact that we're right now, one of us needs some space mentally or emotionally to feel into whatever life is giving them. And it's really taught me the value of not always feeling like they don't care about me, or, you know, being selfish, they're being selfish. No, they're doing what's good for them. And I need to respect that. I need to love them enough to let them do that. And so that manipulation piece, so many people are manipulated by others, who, you know, big on the narcissistic stuff. You know, a lot of us have been in those relationships. And so there's a lot of that still out there. A lot of people are in this age of waking up and seeing who they are and trying to be mindful and trying to be healthy. But there are still a lot of people who are toxic out there. And so there are still a lot of manipulators, and really knowing the difference between someone who's trying to manipulate you and then someone who is just doing what's good for them because it's genuinely healthy and good for them. So that's that was a really big one for me. I really love that. Big year on learning to respect partnerships and people, just like we're meeting people where they're at. I say that with people, especially because I'm a business consultant and I coach a lot of people. And, you know, people one day will be like, all right, we're gonna meet up tomorrow and have our meeting. And then they'll come to me and be like, are you gonna be upset that I like can't come to this meeting? I'm not feeling it. And I'm like, no, I'm here to meet you where you're at. And if that means moving a meeting, if it means changing the whole course of what we're doing, it's very important to be more flexible with people in our daily lives, and then to be present, you know, each and every day. And so
I think it's so interesting how like you and I are like in different spots, where yours is like becoming more adaptive and more flexible. And for me, it's also, yeah, sure, meeting them, acknowledging where they're at, and sometimes leaving them where they're at. So for me, it's been like more about like, it's just been more about boundaries for me, you know, because yeah, I know. I just think it's interesting that we're in different phases, which is like, it's beautiful. That's like what life is. And like cherishing all of it, like cherishing where we're at, you know, and life is going to send you all these new things. You know, cherishing the time to grow and learn, and cherishing what the universe is teaching you, like right now, which I just like was acknowledging. It's just interesting how like I'm acknowledging that lesson and you're acknowledging what's happening in your reality. It's like, it's so amazing.
It is. I think, you know, this whole conscious movement or conscious mind movement, you know, this evolution of the human beings right now and our willingness to expand into these limitless possibilities and beings that we are, it's a beautiful thing to see, the evolution of where we were and how we're not complacent and compliant, but yet we're mindful and respectful, you know, of the traditions, but also breaking those molds and being something we've been told we're not. It's been really cool. And I think if we keep on going, who knows what the world's going to be like here in the next, you know, 10, 15 years. But it's so important that more and more people wake up to the light within them, you know, and wake up to the mindfulness and the realizing that doing the work and getting through the struggles is like the only way to go to start seeing success and start seeing true happiness and true love. And that, you know, you really get through that by learning and cherishing today's lesson. So I really love that.
And I think, you know, what you were sharing too is, to me, is real, is love, is how to love somebody. It's accepting them, acknowledging them, respecting them.
Yeah.
And Matt Kahn talks about love is spacious. Love gives space. Obsession is a masquerade of love. It's so like what you were talking about is totally in alignment with all the things that I've been like, you know, meditating about. It's love is spacious, and love like thinks of space as a beautiful gift. Like it's a beautiful gift, or also the ability to tell your partner, like, I need space. It is beautiful, because that means your partner is so comfortable and open and a clear communicator that they are sharing their needs with you, which is like really beautiful because it's hard for people to get real.
And amazing,
So
you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's like, yeah, it's like really, I don't know. I just am learning so much about, you know, what I'm going to accept in my next relationship and what I will not accept in my next relationship. And it's just, it's so amazing, you know, and I'm grateful for all the previous relationships, even the really difficult ones. The difficult ones taught me so much and they elevated me. And that's what Matt Kahn talks about too. It's like, thank you for elevating me. Like, bye, like namaste, on my way. Like, thank you for elevating me. And so that's really, you know, that's my lesson right now on this 2222 portal. And I'm wearing, you know, my Star Wars and baby Yoda, like to celebrate like the portal.
And then I love moon, you know.
Yeah.
It's all happening.
It's all happening, you know, and I love starting my day like this with you. And you know, hopefully people got something out of this message today. Definitely feel very powerful energy this morning. And I'm loving this journey. I am loving this journey. This book is amazing. I've been reading it every day. And it is amazing. So great.
Yeah. Yeah, guys. So we are, I'm Lauren.
And I'm Lindsay.
And, you know, we're just here to give you your midweek motivation, support and love and perspective. And you know, what we talk about is our own personal experiences, our own personal teachings that we've been taught, or things that we've learned over the course of time. And so always remember, take what resonates with you, leave what doesn't. You know, we all have different views, we're all on different levels. So sometimes what, you know, one person may say may resonate with you, and sometimes it might not, but ultimately the seeds have been planted, and we're here to just continue to see you grow as listeners, but also how Lindsay and I grow as leaders. And we're really grateful for the opportunity to drop in with you every week and just give you this moment and give ourselves this moment as well. And so remember, you can catch Lindsay on Spotify and YouTube, The Conduit. She has an awesome Talk Tuesday. What is it?
Tapa Tuesday. Tapa is Sanskrit for truth, essentially. So it's a spiritual interview series. And so far it's been really lit. I like it. Yeah, it's fun.
I've been tuning in, and I really love the conversation. Just when I listened to your recent one, really interested in a little bit more. I did like, I did my thing, and I'm a white and an electric. I went on her. Yeah. So anyway, we'll talk about that later. But you know, I'm Lauren. I'm hopefully your future president. I am a yoga instructor who uses yoga for business coaching. And I own a digital marketing firm called Rogue Wave Business Solutions, RW Business Solutions. And I do a business podcast, a mindful business podcast on Mondays. So I just posted a new one this past week, and it's about the 5 things you should surround yourself with and why networking is important. So you can tap into that on Spotify, The Mindful Business Life. And so, yeah, guys, take today's lessons, cherish them, integrate them, embody them, teach them. Show other people what you've learned. You are a gift to the world. You just have to be willing to show up and express yourself, and the right people will come. So we totally appreciate you, and we hope you have a fabulous day.
Namaste. Thank you all.